We got a really good game coming up here. BYU and Oregon matching up here in Eugene. We've got Oregon 3.5-point home favorites here, 57 being the total in this game. The only thing that would keep me off taking BYU here plus the points is the spot. Clearly, I mean, they're coming off an emotional, exhausting, thrilling overtime game against Baylor, a huge game, top 10 ranked team. They knock them off. Mormons storming the field left and right after that game and after that BYU win. And now you got to come back a week later, go on the road and face another pretty good team and another big game. You know, that's going to be the concern I've got for BYU. Can this group handle two big, massive games back to back like that, especially the way that Baylor game was? It was crazy. It had kicking issues. Yeah, you know, back and forth it went. It ends up going to overtime, and BYU pulls it out 26-20 after losing to Baylor last year. So a bit of a revenge game there. Now you got to go on the road, face Oregon, but I just don't know how good Oregon is. I don't think I think they have issues, and they're Bo Nix issues. All right. I'm throwing out the Eastern Washington result, 70-14. I know Bo looked phenomenal in that game, but come on. I mean, obviously Eastern Washington hasn't even had very good defense for the last few years. They've had a great offensive team, but not necessarily a good defensive team. When he faced someone that was very good, it was obviously Georgia. It's as good as it gets. He was totally inept. Bo Nix. Let's not forget that. And let's not forget last year when he was at Auburn, you know, how putrid he was at times. So, you know, this to me is not a situation where I'm looking to lay it with Oregon. I'm not. But I am concerned about the spot for BYU. Can they rev up the machine again for another big game? Because I think talent-wise, personnel-wise, they can keep this to 3 points or less or win. That's why I'm intrigued by the plus the points here with BYU. I like Jaron Hall. You know, at the quarterback spot. I like that their defense. They got Tooney. They've got all kinds of good players on that defense. That Chase Edwards kid, outstanding receiver. And they didn't even have some of their best receivers, including Gunnar Romney, available to them against Baylor. What if they get some of those receivers back here in this game? That defense is pretty solid for BYU. And look, any kind of solid to above average defense, and I think BYU has one, they can contain a guy like Bo Nix, who's mistake prone, in my opinion. So the speed does concern you, but I think in the trenches, we know how good they are in the trenches. They're an older team, experienced team. They brought back most of their offense, the entire defense from last year, BYU, great returning production numbers. I think they're capable of going into Oregon, winning this football game. The one hesitancy I have is the spot. Can they ramp it up again after an emotional win last week against Baylor? What are you thinking here, Conor, with BYU, Oregon?
Yeah, that huge, OT win, at home, then to just kind of deflate now to go to Eugene here. BYU still has Hall. You mentioned it. The offensive line, the defense has been good. Hayes, you mentioned it. Tooley, just tackling machine for BYU. I still don't, this BYU defense, I think over time will show it has some holes, though, and you can score on them. And I don't think Baylor took advantage of it enough, even though that was a phenomenal football game. Hopefully they'll be a little more healthy at receiver, like you mentioned. We'll have to see later in the week. And Oregon, I just saw them get destroyed by Georgia. Obviously, Georgia, top 1 or 2 teams in the country. I can't get behind Bo Nix. I don't want to lay points with him, even in a short number like this. I think I've seen enough of him in his career. He obviously shredded it last week against Eastern Washington, but it's Eastern Washington. You know what? I kind of look at this game as I don't trust the defenses. I know this total's a little high. I'm leaning over. I know it's 56, right around there, but I'm looking to the over. The Ducks at home play to the over more. And I think we can see some points in this one.
All right. I think we could see some points here in this one. Again, 57 looks like it is the 57 and a half is what we're looking at right now with this. And it has gone up from the opener. As you can see, we have it on the screen as 56 and a half. That's what it was earlier. It's gone up a little bit. So clearly there's people agreeing with you, Conor, that maybe we'll see a few more points here than expected. But Tooley is on that defense is all over the place. You're right. They had some receiver injuries. They relied a lot. They had to on Chase Roberts last week at receiver because Gunnar Romney and another key receiver were out. We'll have to keep an eye on their status for this game, see if they get some of their injured wide receivers back.